Hey, STAR students, welcome back to the Astro Study Room. I'm Ember Faye, your friendly neighborhood fire fairy witch.
And I'm Jordan, a university researcher by day and a full-time astrology student by night. Our goal for this podcast, as always, is to feel like we're all just students meeting up after class to go over our notes together. Every other Tuesday, we will be exploring core astrology topics, breaking them down, and just chatting about how these concepts show up in our real lives and reflect on what wisdom the stars have to share with us. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope you will consider subscribing and leaving us a review to help us grow this little cohort of astrology students.
Yes, I miss you already, Jordan, actually.
I know. So we all met up this weekend and it was an amazing experience. And it feels strange to think about us not all like, I said this in the chat, but like being in the flesh together. You've seen Finding Nemo, right?
Yes, of course.
I sent someone from the group this the meme of all the fish when they're in the little baggies and they're separated from each other and they're on top of the ocean and they're like, now what? I was telling her this morning, I was like, I don't know what to do with all this energy. And then I found that meme and I was like, this is how I feel. Like we're all suddenly separated again.
Oh my gosh, yes. So to back it up a little bit, as you may have heard on previous episodes of our podcast, Jordan and I met together through one of Elise Wells. Elise Well is one of the co-hosts of the
Elise
Magic
Well.
Kitchen. What did I say?
The first time you said Elise Wells, you were like, from Elise Wells, what Elise Well has singular well.
I'm so tired.
Oh gosh,
Oh my goodness.
exhausted.
Okay. So Elise Wells, we love her. Elise, Lady Elise.
Hi,
Hi,
Lady
Elise.
Elise.
She runs the Seeking Numina podcast, a co-host of the Magic Kitchen podcast, runs these containers. And as you may have heard from previous episodes, I met Jordan through one of these containers back at the beginning of the year. And these past 12 weeks, Jordan and I have been together in another one of Elise's containers, the Sacred Wild. And this 12-week course culminated in all of us meeting up together this weekend in Haverty Grace, Maryland. And it was incredible.
Yeah. No, it was amazing. I feel like I tried to go not in a bad way, just like so one of the things that I worked on in the container was like this feeling of like always feeling like I needed to have profound experiences and if I didn't, then like what about me do I need to fix so that I can have these experiences every single time? And so along with that, I tried to go into this weekend with lower expectations in that way of like not feeling like I had to have a profound experience, but I was very, very shocked with how the whole weekend felt in a good way. But also be aware, Emma and I are both exhausted right now.
We are, oh my gosh, feeling super low energy, a lot of energy work this weekend. And so I think like all of that combined with just meeting everyone, and it was like such an energy high, when like, I don't know, you do something like really exciting and you kind of get like in burlesque, we call it glitter crash. In like, theater, you kind of get like post-show blues.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm kind of experiencing that today where it was like such a high over the weekend and now I'm just like I'm crashing a little bit. And so Jordan, we were basically with 11 other women who we've gotten to become pretty close with throughout this container, and it was basically like we were a family. It was incredible. It was like we had known each other. Shout out to all you amazing lovely women who
Yes,
have
we
been
love
listening.
you.
We love you so much. And it's just, I think it's super rare to come across a group like that where everyone truly can just be themselves. And I don't know, there's like so much I could say. I don't know. I feel like I need a whole episode to talk about it.
I feel like I need a week to like figure it out myself.
Yeah, and process.
I
And
was
so
trying to like write a post about it and I'm still working on it. I have like half a thing written down, but I'm kind of like I haven't even finished, and I don't know if one does finish, but I feel like I've barely begun processing the weekend to even be able to say much about it.
I know my goal. So as of filming this podcast last night was the Pisces full moon, the lunar eclipse, the corn moon, so to speak.
The blood
And
moon.
yes, the blood moon. So gorgeous.
I
Did you
know,
see
I was just about to say, I
it?
was like, it was gorgeous this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had this whole plan. I was gonna get home, journal on the whole weekend and like,
You thought you were gonna do that? Did you do that?
yeah. No.
I was like, why did you think you would do that? For the record, she drove like 5 hours and like was planning on working the next morning. So I don't know what part of you thought you were gonna do that.
I had so much energy and then I just crashed. But you all will hear about mine and Jordan's experience. So this is not going to be the last time we all meet up together. Part of this journey and part of this weekend, part of this magical eclipse energy and the moon, the Pisces moon, all of that led us to a path that many of us have been on for a really, really long time. And I'll quote Jordan that it was just always fated to be that we are forming a coven led by our
Sorry.
led by our high priestess
Lady High
Lady Elise.
Priestess Elise Wells of the Coven. Blah, blah, blah. We're not allowed to say the Coven name. But we keep making jokes that we need to read out her whole title like a Game of Thrones character.
Yeah, there's so much from this weekend that I would love to talk about, but where it's a magical journey. It's a journey that I think I've been on since I was 10 years old. Little inner Ember would be so I don't think she would believe if I told her we were on this journey right now. So follow Jordan and I for a year and a day.
Yeah. Oh man, it would be cute to just to start a podcast on that, on just like the year and the day experience. Oh man. Ooh, I don't want to start another podcast, but I'm like, that's a cool idea though. But
I
also
mean,
be rough if you can't talk about it.
we have other sodes for a reason.
True, true.
Yeah, if it's not astrology themed, do you all care? Let us know.
I
Anyway,
feel like most of our viewers right now are witchy.
anything else, Jordan, you want to add about our spiritual, incredible weekend?
For this coven that we started, I wrote up a birth chart for it, kind of I guess like an electional chart, which I have not practiced electional astrology or been taught electional astrology, so a lot of this was like intuitive, and I did a lot of like intuitive free writing for this, and I treated it like a birth chart. But I just want to make it clear, like I have not been taught how to read for a group. It was just something I decided to do in the moment, and it's a really cool and interesting chart that just felt really right for the group. And
It's so good. I haven't even finished reading it. Like I only
oh,
got to read
really?
yeah. I felt like when I read it, I was at work when I pulled it up, so I like skimmed a lot of it,
Mm,
and there were certain lines that stood out to me, but I kind of want to like sit with it and have some time to like go through it. I actually want you
yeah.
to read it to me, but
Aw. So Elise and I had talked a lot about the exact time to start the coven so we could get a certain chart. And that's what electional astrology is electing a certain time that will get you like the results that you want. And so we had decided on 1 o'clock between 1 p.m. and 1:03 p.m. And that was going to get us a really cool chart that I liked. And we were going to be Sagittarius rising at the critical degree 0. And it didn't work out like that. What ended up happening was one of our members woke up late, and so they didn't make it in time for 1 p.m. And so fortunately they weren't like that much later, so we are still Sag risings as a group. And so the houses didn't shift or anything, but we did lose like that critical 0 degree. But going along with Sabian symbols, which I have been playing with and talking a bit about here on the show, we kind of let that sort of be up to complete fate essentially. And the Sabian symbol that we ended up getting, I think it's Sag 4, and it was a little child learning to walk. And so I haven't sat very long with that because again, long weekend, but I like it and I'm excited to meditate more on that.
oh, I think it's such a beautiful metaphor because I think the original Sabian symbol, right, was like it was kind of more warrior vibes, right?
Yeah, and I liked it.
I think the first steps with the Sabian symbol, and so many of us in this group have talked about, is like healing that inner child and like how we're almost all kind of going through a rebirth right now. We're like rebirthing this path. We're rebirthing, ourselves, our inner witches, our inner children, and coming together. And one of the things that's very unique about this coven is that we are all on a very similar plane where we're coming in with no previous knowledge about this path besides maybe what's been shared with us on a very like outer circle level, and we are kind of all these like these youngins on this journey. And I think that's so beautiful because that means that we have such a wide open path. We have
Hmm.
many paths to go down. And oh my gosh, wait. So Jordan and I picked cards at the beginning of this, or I picked cards for us. Jordan,
Oh, like a child.
the little children, many paths. Oh my gosh, this makes so much sense now. So we are these young versions of ourselves, right? Coming forth. And it just leaves so much open to destiny, fate, path, decisions, will, like free will of where we can go and what we can do because it's so undefined.
It's really interesting. So I have a few things that came to mind. One, I don't, not that I'm unimpressed, but I don't often get super impressed by a lot of these. I don't even know what to call them, but these circumstances that other people feel like a surge of magic from. Is that making sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, sort of like
Okay.
synchronicities.
I guess, yeah. And it's not that I'm like unimpressed, but I'm not like, I don't know, I don't get chills and I don't like feel jaw dropped very often by them. However, this weekend, Elise had said at the end of our ritual that a train would go by. And trains went by the whole time. But at the very, very ending, another train had gone by. And that was I didn't get chills, but that was something that impressed me. And this is kind of impressing me too. And I will say, like, and maybe it'll come later, I don't feel like a big connection to inner child right now. And I don't like that hasn't been something that's coming up for me, I don't think at all. But I do think it's interesting that you pull those cards. And I was thinking, like, I wonder how this is going to show up. Because, yeah, it was rattle and many paths. It doesn't usually happen at the beginning of an episode.
No, it doesn't. It seemed so clear to me as we were talking, which is so crazy because it felt so crazy because we are on this journey together. And for you and me to have met is so weird and like very circumstantial. Like the things had to line up perfectly, right? Like we had to both meet Elise through whatever means we did. We had to trust Elise enough to sign up and invest in one of her containers, which is not a small investment. So worth it. I will say that if you are a listener and you are really feeling stuck in your magic or stuck on your path, that joining a container with other people, other women around you who are trying to do the same thing, trying to move forward, trying to learn, you will expand times 10,000. Like, I just need to say that because I have been on this path for 2 decades. I have grown more in the past 2 years through containers, through working with mentors than I ever could have on my own. And so that's just like a plug for that. But we both had to join, we both had to trust in that. And then through the containers, we had to connect, which I mean, it's via Zoom, right? Like we could have kind of we were never made as like priestess partners. So that's like a one-on-one connections with like other people in the group. That was never me and Jordan. We kind of just connected through Jordan offering to do some readings and me trusting Jordan to read me. And from there, so much has grown and it's so weird to think about.
I think about too, we said this in one of our other episodes, and I'm not saying this in like a taking credit kind of way at all, but I was thinking about how, because I was talking to one of the Coven members yesterday about this, that we've mentioned this before, like I said, that you never like advertised yourself as someone who was like dedicated to astrology, like you were into it and you were interested in it, but it was never like the thing. But I feel like I guess like you being on this podcast too changed, I don't want to say changed trajectory. Maybe you were always on it. I don't know. But like, well, maybe no. I guess like it influenced the path that you're on in some way, one way or another.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is definitely the first time that I've been more public in a way that's like put myself out there, put my voice out there. So, I've always used social media. I have felt comfortable with social media through my burlesque, but I definitely doubted my ability to have a voice that people would want to listen to. And so I think doing this podcast has definitely pushed me that like I can speak, I can share whatever messages, whatever conversations are coming forwards. And I think that will definitely be influenced as I start to create more in Ember Fae Magic and move forwards in the coven and whatever other witchy paths, the many paths to follow.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I love you.
I love you too.
So I just want to share if as Jordan mentioned, we can't really talk much about the details of the coven or anything like that. But if you ever have questions about your own witchy path or are looking for mentorship, Jordan and I do have a lot of experience with being able to connect you with people that might be able to help. We've both worked with quite a number of different mentors. And so we are happy to share. And so feel free to DM us at any time on our Instagram, on our personal
Absolutely.
Instagrams.
I love
But
that you remember to mention that.
yeah, I think it's important because at the end of the day, we're trying to be a resource. And I think, we've tried so many different things, and I think we're finally starting to figure out the paths we want to be on. And so hopefully we can help others kind of shorten their paths as well and not have to struggle as much, or at least have some support while we all struggle through whatever we need to. So anyways, Jordan and I always make our intro way longer than we meant to. Today, everyone, we're delving into a topic that, as someone newer to astrology, one of my big questions has always been like, how do you start a reading? How do you know where to start? How do you prepare for a reading? And like blah, 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 more questions. So I asked Jordan if today we could discuss her process with us and how she goes about starting readings. And I have a couple of questions for her. So yay, Jordan. How is that feeling for you right now? I'm curious, like how are you feeling about this conversation, I guess, in general?
I'm excited. I think it'll be interesting to talk about this. And then, because again, I know that this is one of our side conversations we just had, but in a lot of witchy spaces that I'm in, I am the authority on astrology, but I'm really not an astrology expert in the astrology world. I think, like, honestly, I think I'm considered, according to Kepler, I'm probably like I'm right at so Kepler does you can take a test and actually test where you are in your astrology knowledge, and then they have like a chart of like, if you know these things, then you're in this level. And I'm like right at the top of lower intermediate, or right at the bottom of middle intermediate. So I'm not advanced. I'm not an expert. I really truly am still simply a student who is learning and practicing. So I think it'll be really interesting to look back on this when I do hit those advanced expert levels and see how some of these answers change.
Excited for that too. Oh my gosh, we'll have to
Yeah.
do this again and see how
Yeah.
this changes. I love that. So, in case you're new to our podcast, like feel free to go back and check out our previous episodes along with our free Patreon content to help you learn alongside with us students. And of course, if you've listened to our podcast before, Jordan, do you want to tell our listeners about our Patreon?
Yes, we have these little donation tiers. And if you have been loving what we're creating and you want to support us and want to keep the Cosmic Classroom open, we would love to have your support. We have some different little resources like journal prompts, extra journal prompts, study guides, behind the scenes stuff. And no one is required to donate. We would love to have you either way. It is a free Patreon, and we would love to connect with you behind the mic.
Absolutely. Jordan and I are committed to this podcast. We are committed. We have decided, like, every other week we are pumping out an episode, and we are funding this completely out of pocket to make sure that you all have the resources you need to study the cosmos with us. So no pressure at all to donate, because we just really want this as accessible as we can to our listeners.
And as a reminder, Ember and I are always focused on making astrological information accessible, and we know that this can come with a big price barrier. And as we keep saying, we are committed to keeping this free because we want to make this space available to everyone, provide content to help you communicate with the stars.
And as always, please let us know how we're doing. Comments, like, subscribes, and give us feedback on how we can help you learn. As a reminder, Jordan and I are both students ourselves, so we definitely don't know everything. We'll be totally upfront with that. And we are just learning together in this little astro study room, which is why it's so special to us. So buckle up, star students. Class is officially out and the study room is in session.
Welcome back, everyone, from our short 10-second break. So again, as we have mentioned, we had a pretty big weekend that we spent a lot of time talking about. So today, the astro weather is going to be a bit short, and we're just going to go over the local moon news. So Ember, to you now.
Yeah, so we have a new moon in Virgo coming up on September 21st at 3:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So now, if this sounds familiar, I promise you're not going crazy, because we did talk about a new moon in Virgo during, I think it was our Venus episode back in August. And we did, in fact, have a new moon in Virgo on August 23rd. And I did not know that this could happen. So I had texted Jordan and I was like, Jordan, did I accidentally say the wrong new moon in our Venus episode? I was kind of panicking a little bit. So I was curious, Jordan, like, did you know that this could happen?
I'm not super shocked. Like I know blue moons are like specifically when a full moon happens, when there's two full moons in one calendar month.
Yeah.
And being in the same zodiac sign is not the same thing as a calendar month, but I don't know. Like part of me is like no, okay, more clearly, no, I did not know that that could happen, but I'm not extremely shocked. I guess like, it's most likely to happen when, oh, you know what? This kind of just came to me. So the sun has 30 degrees that it goes to
Mhm.
within a zodiac sign. And the moon, no, this isn't making sense. I might just be speaking gibberish. I don't know if this is gonna actually add up, but it's making sense in my head if I could just get it out. And the sun travels about 1 degree per day. The
Mhm.
moon has 28 to 29 and a half days for its whole cycle. Nope, never mind. This is not making sense.
No, Jordan, I think you're almost there. I think you're almost there. I think you got it.
So the moon spends 2.5 days in each sign.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the sun has 30 degrees, which is less, not only does the sun have 30 degrees, it's 30 days per zodiac sign. Oh, here it is. Yeah. And the moon is only 28 to 29 and a half days. So there's that extra half a day to 2 days that isn't lined up between the sun and the moon
Yep.
in zodiac. So that does make sense. So if the new moon is in the early degrees of whatever sign, then it's totally possible to see it again in the later degrees a month from then.
Heck yes,
Boom.
you got
Yeah.
it. You got it, Jordan. So I
Woo!
did look it up because I didn't do a thought exercise like that.
Oh.
I looked it up. So as we know, right, a new moon is happening when the moon is aligned between like the sun and the earth, right? So, like Jordan said, very rarely. So Jordan and I were both trying to look up like how often this happens, and we couldn't actually find something. We found like there will be there will be two new moons within the same calendar month, like every 2 to 3 years, but there was like nothing out there about the new moon in the same zodiac sign.
Mhm.
But we know it's rare. And so in August, that new moon was at 0 degrees in Virgo. And so the next lunar cycle would happen before the sun has moved into the next sign, AKA, we're still also in Virgo season. We're at the very beginning of Virgo season. Now we're going to finish it towards the very end of Virgo season. That's really cool. And that's pretty powerful. And so you add the fact that also there's going to be a partial solar eclipse on this day as well. And we've got some really powerful Virgo energy going on here. So double Virgo amplified by some eclipse energy. I think that's awesome. What do you think about this, Jordan?
Yeah, I think, eclipse season is exhausting, and anyone will say that. And I think people talk about eclipses so much in astrology, and I feel like it hasn't ever been a topic that like calls to me. So I'm like aware that they happen, but whenever eclipses happen, I'm not like as intrigued to like dive deep into them. And I want to at some point, but all that to say, like eclipse season is still here. And by the time that this episode comes out, the partial solar eclipse will be coming up soon. What was it? August? Oh no, September.
No,
What day?
yeah, September 21st.
I think with it being in Virgo, I think there's going to be a lot of feelings about perfectionism, obviously, and kind of like an obsession on the smaller things and the finer details, and the smaller things a lot that some other people might say like don't matter. And this would also be a good time to like start new routines and start like healthy habits. And again, I'm very tired, but this is what is coming to mind.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Whatever that.
I know. I always say it backwards on. I'm always like the Ned on the hail.
I hit I hit the hammer with the nail. Did the nail hit the
I
hammer? I
took
don't
the
know.
nail and I was like,
Did the nail hit the hammer? Did the hammer hit the nail? I don't know. But anyway, so if we
I
look
had
back.
the hammer and then I punched the nail anyway.
Oh my gosh. So, as a reminder that Virgo new moon energy, we talked a lot about it being a time to sort of reset, cleanse, get details in order. and really beware of that self-criticism and perfectionism that Jordan mentioned. And you can channel that energy into kind of like looking at it being more self-awareness than self-criticism, right? Like looking through that lens as facts about, these are facts about me that I know, and take it for what it is. Like, it's a fact. It's good to know these things. It's good to have self-awareness, right? But we don't need to overanalyze those things. And this eclipse energy can definitely lead us down that path. I also think this is a really beautiful time to look at some of those actions you may have taken about getting details in order and cleansing, because we're kind of at the beginning and end, somewhat end of a cycle, right? We're at the beginning of Virgo season. We're finishing up Virgo season. So maybe with this energy, take some time into really just using it to keep yourself grounded and energetically aligned, because it's going to be tough to do right now. But now that we're like aware of this, right, and we have this eclipse that'll really take it to the extreme. Virgo's an earth sign. Get down in the earth. Use the earth to channel and let go of some of that perfectionism. It's not going to hurt the earth. The earth can take it. She can just yum, yum, gobble it all up and let it dissipate and transmute, and let go of those judgments you have of yourself, or maybe your goals. Maybe you've been judging your goals, and you've been using this Virgo season to kind of channel like, okay, what are my next to-dos? And maybe you didn't get through all of them. Maybe you're like panicking because it's the end of Virgo season and you're like, oh my gosh, like these goals I had for my project, just let it go. It's okay. And then use that energy to channel and journal on the details of the specifics of like, where do you want to go from here? Right? Like, we're completing this cycle. Let's figure out what's next, because now we have this amplified energy that this might actually be a good time to look at the details, right? Now that you've let some of that energy go, look at the details and see how you can use those to move forward. And always remember to treat yourself with kindness in this time. And I think if you can do that, you're going to find yourself being able to express your goals with so much more thought and direction and clarity than you were able to before. And I think this new moon will be a really powerful time to clear out what doesn't belong, to make way for some really supercharged beginnings.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, we're not going super deep today in explaining or re-explaining again what eclipses are, or specifically this eclipse, but I do just want to throw into, again, always look at where it is hitting in your chart. That they say eclipses are moments of like pushing fast forward on your destiny and kind of like speeding you in that direction. So take a moment and think about that. Think about where you've been heading and where does it feel like you're kind of like snowballing. Like, what direction are you snowballing towards now? Have a moment of observance for it.
I like that. I think observing is really important. And if you don't observe, you can really let that energy just take you and whisk you away. And it's so good. We can use that energy in such positive ways, right? Like that momentum can be really, really good as long as we're paying attention to like where it's taking us.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, y'all. We're gonna get into our main content for today. So we're gonna learn how Jordan reads a birth chart. So, Jordan, welcome. Have a seat.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here.
All right, Jordan.
That's me.
So we talked a little bit about this in our first OTHERSODE, and if you haven't listened to it, you should check it out because that was such a fun conversation. But I think since it's pretty relevant right now, I wanted to start this off by you telling us like what inspired you to start reading birth charts for people. Like, when did you first start reading them? And can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah. I started, as everyone tends to, by reading a lot of my friends' charts. And it was before I knew how to actually look at a birth chart. And so I was just Googling, where is my Mars on this day? And then like Googling, like, what does Mars in Libra mean? And then I learned about the houses and I would Google, what does Mars in Libra in 7th house mean? And that's kind of how that initially started. And then I started actually doing video readings when I started taking a course that required that we do them for practice. I also just like always enjoyed it. Like whenever I would meet someone or especially like in group chats, I would kind of put out a call for like whoever wants a little amateur birth chart reading, send me your birth information and I would love to obsess over your chart.
Wait,
And
what a
that's
good way to get on the dating apps. Dating advice by Jordan. Like, hey, how you doing? Can I see your birth chart?
So that's like a low key way of how it started. And then yeah, and then I got into the having to do them for class.
So you read for friends. It's and for anybody listening too, if you are still in your early steps of learning astrology, I mean, I don't want to like promote AI or anything like that, but you can't, what you really miss out, and this is like just my opinion, whatever, but like what you really miss out on when you use AI is that like intuition where that comes from like it can tell you facts of like what things mean in different houses and what these houses mean and the signs. But like you miss out on that level of intuition and interpretation that I think getting a actual reading is so valuable for. But for starting out and in the beginning, right, it is so helpful to be able to like have that tool to be able to start to recognize like what the houses are, what the signs mean. And if that's like your only way of accessing that information, like totally go for it. Because that's exactly what I did too, Jordan. I would like Google and be like, what does this mean? And it
Yeah.
was like, and I thought it was so interesting, but I definitely didn't have the level to like interpret that yet.
Yeah, and I think that Googling too is kind of it also like helped with the memorization because like when I was doing those like for my friends when I would look up their charts, like I would put it in my own words, but I would take what I just learned from Google and text it to them as if I knew what I was talking about, as if I hadn't just Googled it. But that kind of like helped with the memorization. And again, because I was putting it in my own words and my own language, that also helped like commit it to memory.
Gotcha. And do you find it easier to read? So you mentioned starting with your friends versus a stranger. Do you find it easier to read for the people that you know?
Yeah, I do. I think because it's easier for me to get specific with the people that I know already. But there is obviously the bias of like sometimes I have that fear of like I see something in their chart and I don't know like I know this person, but I don't know this part about them. So I kind of assume like maybe I'm not reading that right.
Mm.
And that comes up a lot for people that like I've gotten to know, but I haven't known them forever. So there's like this big thing in their chart that I see and I don't like I feel nervous saying it because I'm like I've never heard this person talk about this and I feel like it would have come up by now. And sometimes I wish I was more specific because sometimes it is right and I just like got too scared to say it. And my mom's a tarot reader. My mom says that I will get over that and I will get more comfortable. I would say too because those group chats that I was like sending out like a send me your birth information, they all were spiritual group chats or specifically astrology group chats. And so there was a little bit of comfort in knowing that I knew that one thing about them. I knew that they were spiritual. And like even though I didn't know everything else, it was like this it was almost like this feeling of like I have this one thing that I can feel comfortable about already knowing about them. And I think that helped me because it is nerve-wracking to read someone's chart for the first time.
Totally. I want to validate what you said about being nervous to speak the thing that our intuition is saying. And I have a very similar experience when I read oracle cards or tarot cards for people where, especially if it's something that I get this intuitive hit that maybe it's not something that I know they would want to hear. I really
Yeah.
struggle with that where I'm like, oh man, I'm about to say this thing that could be totally untrue and also sound really sucky. Um, but I agree. I do think with experience that does get easier for those of you who are like experiencing that in your divination practices or whatever you're doing. I do think that is probably like a normal thing that we grow out, almost like the imposter syndrome of dealing with like who am I to say these things.
I think
Um,
I'm also still learning like how to be helpful with astrology. I think I've said this before, but like a lot of times I can like see an issue, but like I'm like I don't know how to fix it. And so I feel like what's the point in me like bringing this up without having advice? But it's not like anyone, I don't know, because I guess that gets into like what is the point of getting an astrology reading? Like, are you
yeah,
there for advice? Are you there for fun and entertainment? Are you there for spiritual enlightenment? And, those answers can change person to person. But like, always wanting to make sure that I'm actually like providing what it is that they're looking for. And I don't like I don't know. I don't feel like I'm someone who can like give life advice at this point. So I also don't want to like bring up something sucky and be like, good luck. Because someone did that. I mentioned this in, I think, actually our first episode, that for like about a year, I was getting a lot of different astrology readings from different astrologers to kind of like pick out what I liked and didn't like in astrologers. And I had this one reading with someone, and she just kind of like predicted a lot of like crappy things for me. And I left that reading being like, well, that sucked. I've had other readings where the astrologer has also predicted something not easy. And I don't want to say they sugarcoated it because they did it, but like they also brought out like something that I could look forward to, or something that like was a strength in that moment, or they were able to offer advice based on the astrology. And so everyone has their own taste, and maybe some people don't, like they do just want it read in plain sentences, but I didn't like the reading where they just predicted bad week after bad week after bad week.
Yeah, that's such a powerful statement because I do think that, you know, we are not licensed therapists. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
most divinatory practices are not. When you hire somebody for that purpose, it's not usually someone who is also a therapist.
Yeah.
And having that disclaimer is super important. But I do think there is a level of responsibility and
Mm-hmm.
professionalism that we're holding space for that person. We are not telling them, hey, like this is what you need to do and this is when you need to do it, right? It's more of like helping people hold space as like a reflection practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also not our responsibility what the other person does with that information. But I do think how we deliver that information is our responsibility. I think giving that information can be tough, but having a way, I think we have reflected a little bit on this before in our podcast, but if you haven't heard it yet, to remind people that like it is helpful to be able to deliver that information in a way that doesn't necessarily sound hopeless or that it's sort of like out of that person's realm of free will to kind
Mm-hmm.
of like work with that energy because we all have crappy things happen. We all have negative things that come up. But if you're leaving your clients feeling crappier than when they came to you, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I
And
don't
I've never
I
gone
can
back to
jive with
that
that.
reader. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I can jive with that. I do think it's our
Yeah.
responsibility to be able to help just hold the space to have that client like reflect back to us, like, how can we work with this negative thing or energy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not our responsibility to change it. It's not our responsibility to have them like work through it, like, tell them what to do. It's not our responsibility to tell them what to do. But I do think we can help them reflect to try to figure out a path forwards.
Yeah, and I think a lot too about what could I sort of like specialize in that could make my practice not better, but I guess like more useful and enlightening, because I also don't I always say that there's like different astrologers for different people, because like I said, that reader who just predicted crappy week after crappy week, someone else might really appreciate that because it was kind of like a no BS type of reading. There was no sugarcoating, and some people might find that person therefore more trustworthy. And in a sense, I kind of I don't know, I didn't find her more trustworthy, but my other favorite reader, Candace Marie from Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology, she also has a no BS way, but she does offer a lot of advice. And again, it's if you want that, because she's not a psychologist, she's not a therapist, but she does offer a lot of advice with the things that she talks about. I think a lot too, because we talk about medical astrology a bit on this podcast. And like, what business does an astrologer without a doctorate have to talk about medical astrology? And I don't really know. I don't have an answer on that. But I had one reading that I did with someone where they asked me for financial advice. And for the most part, because I haven't been doing this for super, super long. So it's not like I've done thousands of readings. So not a lot of people have come to me with such specific advice that they wanted. I've, of course, had people say, like, what are my strengths in this situation? But that one person had asked me specifically for financial advice. And I definitely had like I'm not, I'm not a financial advisor.
Interesting.
I guess like what you mentioned too, just like the big word is like responsibility. Like, and I'm learning that too as I go along. I forget if we've talked about this on the show, but when I first started doing those readings, those like little like send me your birth chart information, and then I would text people just like long paragraphs of little readings. I had not realized how much I was opening up myself to the intimacy of the birth chart, which I have talked about how intimate a birth chart is, but just like I would get like walls of text back of people telling me their stories And it was amazing and it's beautiful, but I was not in the headspace to know that I was about to receive all of that. And it was a good learning experience because like now I know the things that come with doing astrology readings and the responsibility that does come with it. And then especially when you start asking for money for it, that's people's hard-earned time and energy that they are giving to you. And so the responsibility that you have to provide for them in a way that is safe and healthy and useful, it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. I think a future OTHERSODE episode should talk about like protecting ourselves when working with clients or when working with other people. How do you like protect your own energy? Because that's
Yeah.
something I've delved into a little bit because I had a very similar experience after sharing some information on my social media platforms, and I just like wasn't prepared
Mm-hmm.
for the feelings that would come up afterwards. And so like
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that would be a really cool thing to talk about. So I'm here and I've booked this reading with you with Astro Jordan. And it's coming up on the calendar. It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow afternoon. And so I'm curious, like, do you have any rituals or work you like to do before sitting down to do a reading? Like, how do you prepare?
I take a lot of notes, and I think you'll hear this from a lot of astrologers that I don't want to say every astrologer, but it's like a joke in the astrology community that we want to study charts for a while before we actually do your reading. And some astrologers are totally fine to go off the cuff, but I'm one of the people who likes to study it for a little bit. So usually at least a week before, I will start taking notes on your chart. I will say too, I tend to not do it all in one session. I tend to start with the big three and I just sit on those for like a session and I write about them. I read about them. I will, if I see like a specific aspect, I will, that interests me or calls to me, I will do some research on that aspect. Like I did one reading for someone who had their South Node in a really close conjunction with their sun. So that's usually my first session, is just kind of sitting on the big three and whatever calls to me to research next. And then I will go into the planets in some other session. Then usually I will go into the angles, which are kind of like considered like the pillars of our life. So your angles are your ascendant, your IC, your descendant, and your MC or your midheaven. And those represent your self, body, and identity, home, family, and roots, significant other, close partner, and then your career, publicity, and legacy. And I'll sit on those. And then usually I will kind of, if I haven't found anything that calls to me at that point, then I will sit with the chart and I will, I guess, intuitively like think like, where am I being called to in this chart to talk about? And I will write about that. And sometimes I'll do some free writing where I'm just writing what comes to mind in the moment. And usually before every reading, I send out a questionnaire and I will ask if there's anything that they want to talk about. And so if they gave me anything that they wanted to talk about, I will then research that. Like I know I've gotten questions about relationships and charts. And so with that, you would be using derivative houses. And I had to do a whole researching thing on derivative houses and finding all these people in their chart.
No, that's so interesting. So to start off, do you use what system do you use when you read?
What system?
Yeah, like whole sign houses or what?
Oh, houses? What house system? I use whole sign houses. I started on Placidus, and then I evolved into whole sign.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I couldn't remember for some
Yeah.
reason. And so when you're preparing, it sounds
Mhm.
like you use a lot of like intuitive channeling and kind of like free writing, which I think is so cool. And I'm also curious, like, are there any particular resources that you'll visit? Is it more just like doing some internet searches, or do you have any favorite books you use to prepare, or anything like that, or notes maybe from classes?
I have a big binder of notes. It's like a 5-inch binder.
Oh,
And
dang.
yeah, and I've like indexed it pretty well. So I can usually find what I'm looking for through the book or through the binder. So
I
I
love
usually,
that. That makes me so
yeah.
happy. I
Yeah.
need something like that because currently my notes are all over the place.
So that's usually where I start. I will also pull up like I have a lot of like self-paced astrology courses that I'm in. If I haven't gotten to the topic that I know we're getting to and someone asks me about it, I will go to that and read ahead in the class notes. Is
You're
there
such a
any
good student.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else, like any typical resource that I keep coming back to. Sabian symbols and the Sabian symbol book.
I need that book. I love that.
Yeah. No, I think sometimes if I honestly, I'll just kind of go down Google rabbit holes. I don't think I
Okay.
have like a website that I continuously return to.
And do you find when you're doing the reading, is it usually live? Like, are you in a Zoom or are you kind of sending a recording or it just depends?
Good question. I I think through all these practice readings, I am learning that I only like doing live Zoom
Ooh.
astrology readings. I hate doing written readings. And yeah, I thought I would like I thought I would get really nervous doing Zoom readings and that I would prefer that like written readings would be easier, but I find them so much harder. I think one because it's really hard for me to measure how much time I've spent on it, and so like it
Mm.
never feels like I've written enough and I feel like I have to keep going and I end up spending probably like 3 times as much time on that chart. I also think because of AI, the value of a written chart has gone down a lot. And so the amount of time that I'm spending on it versus how much people want to spend on a written reading just doesn't really add up.
That
um,
makes so much sense.
yeah. And I think it's also, this is when my mom told me that I will get over this feeling, but I think it's also like I like having the other person there to bounce off, just to talk back to me and tell me, am I on the right track? Am I talking about the thing that you wanted to hear about, that you wanted to talk about? Am I talking about what's resonating with you today? Because sometimes, in a chart, I'll see something big, but it could be something that resonated with them 20 years ago,
Mm.
which is still valuable and they still might want to know about it. But it's so much nicer to have them there. And again, I think it's also like the time thing because I have we have our start and stop time. But in a written reading, it's hard for me to not just keep going and keep going and keep going and feeling like I've
Yeah.
written enough. So I
Yeah.
definitely prefer live readings.
And do you use your notes when you're doing the live reading, or do you find that sort of that conversation will keep you in flow and going? Or
I do use my notes, and I think I'm also trying to get comfortable with like taking a moment in my reading and being like, hold on, let me look through my notes. And I think that's fine because I think the person getting their reading wants you to hit everything. So I
Mhm.
don't think anyone is ever bothered when I say like when I take a second from the conversation, I'm like, hold on, let me double check my notes that I hit everything. I don't know. I had an astrologer do that with me and I liked it. I appreciated that they went back to their notes and made sure that they said everything that they had taken their notes on earlier. So I will read through it right before the reading too, just to refresh my mind, and then I will try to keep it next to me. And then it's a little bit of both. I will glance back at the notes and I will make sure I hit everything, but it is also conversational.
Wow. And just for our listeners, Jordan, to put into context, like how much time are you spending on like prepping before you do a reading
Ah,
on average?
yeah.
I could see you going down a rabbit hole on something that's really
And
for like
that's the thing,
hours,
I
but like,
usually do. I definitely spend several hours. I think the least I've ever spent would be like 3 to 4 hours.
yeah, which is so crazy because like when we're paying for these things, right? Like I think a lot of times, especially with things like oracle card readings, like you're kind of going a lot on intuition, right? Because you don't know what comes up until you pull a card. So you just
Mhm.
there's not a ton of prep that goes on there. But I do think with these astrology charts, there's so much information to like distill in that moment that you kind of do need to take that time ahead of time. And I'm sure there's readers out there who could just like look at the chart, right? Like you walk up at a fair and
Mhm.
they just have to like read your chart right there.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of time. And so when we're paying for these things, right, we're like, oh my gosh, this is so much money. But it's like you're not just paying for the one on one time, you're also paying for all the time that person spent prepping ahead of time.
Yeah, and I think about all the other things that astrologers do too. Again, one of my favorite astrologers, Candace Marie from Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology, she only offers readings twice a week, 2 days out of the week. And I think that kind of just goes to show like how much time is spent outside of the reading. And she does other stuff too, like she does tarot readings and she does webinars and courses and she has a YouTube channel that she's very, very active on. Just a lot of time goes into the reading beforehand because when you're there too, you don't want to spend too much time, too much of their hard-earned time too, because again, their money is our time and energy. So you don't want to spend too much of it being like, hold on, let me remember what Aries represents kind of thing. Like you just want to have it all ready to go because
Yeah.
it's their hard-earned time and energy too.
Yeah, totally. And so now that we've talked a lot about your prep work, like, do you prepare differently if it's somebody you know versus somebody you don't know?
No.
Okay. I was just curious. I don't know if you're like somebody you know, you're like, I'm gonna wing it, but
Oh no, definitely not.
so okay. Now I'm here with you. It's the day after we're on our Zoom for the reading. Do you do anything to set an intention, open the space, or do you kind of just like go into it? Like, what feels true to you to like invite the client into the reading with you? And then I'm curious, like, do you have recommendations for that based on like your experiences if you've done something differently before that didn't work or anything like that?
I don't, but I want to. I don't, I, so I open the reading, we start with how are you doing and all that. And then you always confirm that you have the correct birth time. So I start sharing the screen and I'm like, can you see your chart? And then I ask them to confirm that I have their correct birth date and their correct birth time and location. And then from there, I do dive into it. I do think it would be cool to set an intention and maybe ask in the moment too, like if they have an intention. I think that would help inform the reading too, and I think that would be cool. I'm like thinking ahead right now, like, oh, I should do that. That'd be cool.
Well,
um
when I wrote this question, it was kind of more because, when you and I start the podcast, we always kind of like take some breaths or, light a
mhm.
candle. And so I was wondering if you do that for your readings as well.
I will say too,
Oh,
Candace Marie, again, the person that I love, I believe she takes notes every reading or like during the reading, or maybe because she records them. So I don't know if she ever listens to them back. But I know after like meeting with her a few times, like she remembers things we talked about. So I'm assuming she's writing it down. And she'll ask me for updates on that stuff too when we start a meeting. Like she'll say, like, how did this work out for you? Kind of thing.
yeah.
So I would also like to do that.
I like that too, because that helps, I think, with a client base as well,
Hmm.
especially if you can like relate back to different things. So
Yeah.
that's
She's
cool.
so good.
Yeah, I'm excited. She mentioned a good time. I think we talked about I don't remember, something happening next year. She gave me a time of like when it would be a good time to have another reading with her. I want to do a synergy reading really bad with my partner.
No. We did
Uh,
Brendan and I did a chart reading with her.
oh, you did?
Yeah. It wasn't a like energetic reading, it was a chart reading, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. And I think you talked a little bit on this, but I wanted to see if there was something else you wanted to add. Like, you mentioned you start with, the big three. Is that what you do when you're actually talking to the client? Is like start with their big three, or do you just kind of intuitively go with where to start?
I do start with their big three. And I think that also just kind of like grounds the reading or centers it from the beginning because this is the one that people are more likely to already know about themselves.
Mm.
And it's also kind of exciting too because, again, people know their sun sign usually. And a lot of people getting a reading already know their moon and their rising sign. And it's really fun when, like, they talk to someone who is studying and they just like immediately learn how much deeper these things go, like right from the beginning. So it centers it in something that they already know and then expands on it really quickly. I think a lot of people get impressed by that, and that's fun to watch.
I know I was, so that
Yeah.
definitely makes
Yeah. No,
sense.
that's a perfect example because you have always really identified with your Cancer sun. Well, I don't know, because you did identify. No, did you identify with your Gemini moon immediately? There was something that, not that you didn't identify with it, but maybe it was the moon that you didn't know how you connected to.
I think my moon and my Libra rising. I was like, balanced? I'm not balanced. I'm a neurotic, crazy person.
Well, that's Gemini. Anyway.
Exactly.
But yeah, like that's the perfect example. Like you've always just been so close to your Cancer sun, which is still like a super big part. Like it's not like that goes away. But just like, yeah, the quick realizations of like, oh my God. And then it gets people really excited because it gets me excited. Just like how when you learn like how deep astrology goes, like the fact that nutritional astrology exists, like that's insane. And it just makes you want to learn about it.
I know. I think starting with the big three, you could do a whole reading with just the big three.
And
Like
people
if,
do, yeah.
yeah. So that totally resonates and makes sense. So yeah, I think it would totally make sense to start there. And so we go through the chart, you'll like go through your notes. We'll talk about different aspects. I mean, I know you and me, we talk for hours. And I really liked how it was very conversational. Like I could ask questions during the reading,
Hmm.
which was really great. And so we go through our reading. How do you close, or do you have any sort of ritual of like closing a reading with a client?
No. And I'm trying to think back too on how other astrologers have closed with me. And I can't think of anyone doing anything. Well, you know what? I guess, Candace does that thing where she talks about the biggest upcoming dates for you, and then she ends it by recommending when you should see her again, which is of course pretty salesy,
That's a
but
smart business practice.
it is, yeah. And I'm honestly like not at the point right now where I'm like exponentially trying to grow sales. So it's not even that I really need to do that, but I think it would be that's not a bad practice. I do try to end it on like a something not necessarily inspiring, but something that's like hard hitting, like something that I'm like I just want to remind you that, or like especially if I can notice like a thread that has like come up, which is again why I love the live reading so much more, is you
Yeah.
pick up on the thing that resonates with them right there in the moment and it starts to thread through everything. And it's also like the excitement of like they tell it to me and then I can say like, "Oh, I've actually written about this later." Or there was a recent reading I did where I wrote a little note at the end and we had a whole conversation about it, and I didn't remember that I had written that. And then I was able to show her like, "Oh my God, I wrote that. I forgot that I wrote that, but here it is." And that just gets thread. So then at the end of the conversation, I can kind of like repeat back, "I hear that this is coming up a lot for you right now, and I want to remind you that these are the strengths that you have and these are the supports that you have right now." And then I usually end it on like, "Do you have any questions?"
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so helpful. I also do actually like that idea of being like, hey, this would be like a really good time to check in again, because I
Mhm.
think it helps the client reedy. I was gonna say reedy.
The reedy, I love it.
Reedy. Um, pay attention, like that. Cause I bet you they'll like
Yeah,
down, remember that date. Like I definitely wrote that date down with Candace, and it'll like help me pay attention to like what's going on. And I think it's a really good reflection tool. Like, of course, it's businessy and salesy, but
it's one
I
of those
think,
smart business moves because it's useful for the client and the astrologer.
yeah, 100%.
And it does also like, and again, this goes into like the charisma of sales and all that, but it is one of those where I'm like, she wants to talk to me again. Like we have more to talk about. And it's like, it's friendly and it's fun. And I do say, I will say too, I also like to, I emphasize a lot their Time Lord. And because I think that's something I've just been learning about a lot, especially like in solar returns and learning about Time Lord. So I like to talk about where their Time Lord is going to be the next year.
Can you just remind us again, Jordan, what a Time Lord is? Because I
Yeah,
always think of Doctor Who. I can't like not think of Doctor Who.
Yeah, a Time Lord is the planet that is like influencing you the most that year from your birthday to your next birthday. And it has to do with the annual perfections chart, which is really just based on how old you are. So right now, I'm in a fourth house year, and my fourth house is Aquarius. So my Time Lord right now is Saturn. So I would look to Saturn a lot, or like Saturn's transits are going to impact me more than they would on a non-Saturn year.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I learned about that this year
Yeah.
when we've talked about it, and it's been really interesting to see. So how Candace did her reading is she looked at my Time Lord, and then like how we looked a lot at like, so mine this year is Venus, and we looked at
Yours
how
is
Venus.
Mercury, isn't it? You're in a ninth house here, right? You have Venus in your ninth house.
Oh, we looked at Venus. Okay.
Because Venus is because you look when you're looking at solar returns, you look at the Time Lord and you look at your chart ruler, and because you always look at the chart ruler, and you look at your solar returns rising chart ruler, and you look at how those aspect each other. So
Right.
you will always look to your chart ruler. So you will always look to Venus. But
Okay.
for the year, you are extra emphasized by Mercury.
Yes, I remember now. Like one last question, I guess, Jordan, for you is, how do you feel after you do a reading? Like, is it like, does it totally depend on the reading, or are you usually like really drained? And do you have any like self-care practices after that, or like need it?
I guess I'll say I usually like turn astrology off for the rest of the day. I don't usually study anything else that day. I don't watch videos or astro weather, and I usually try to connect with my other hobbies in that moment. But I think that's it. And I again, these are all kind of things that I do want to develop. Like I do want to develop a pre and post ritual. And I forget if we said this during the podcast or if we said this after or if we said this before the podcast, but I think we said it during. I'm excited to see how different this will all sound 10 years from now and how I'll
Mm.
answer these questions then.
Yeah. And maybe this is like the push, right? We're coming to circle it all the way back around. We
The
are
head
coming.
roll. That's going on Instagram. Just circle it all back.
Just circle it, hair flip. Going back to that new moon and Virgo energy, like maybe this is a good time for you to kind of like outline some of those
Hmm.
details, right? Like using that moon and coming back and sharing it with us in our little
Yeah.
astro
I do
set.
have Mercury in my house of clients.
Oh, yeah. I think that would be awesome. And to kind of like finish this up, Jordan, I have a quick lightning round of questions for you. So this is the first time we're doing this. And I found them. I was like, oh my gosh, I heard it on a podcast and I was like, wait, this would be so fun. So I'm going to ask you a question and you're just going to respond with whatever comes to mind first. Okay.
Okay, I'm excited because I truly have not looked ahead at what these are going to be.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should do these in every other show, but as a
Yeah, I'll do
reminder,
you next. I'll give you some this or that.
Jordan and I are both really tired. So hang in with us. Lightning round sounds very daunting, but here we go. Coffee or tea before a reading?
Tea,
Favorite candle scent for setting the vibe?
leaves,
Handwritten notes or notes on a screen?
Handwritten. This is easy.
Favorite rising sign to read for?
Oh gosh, probably Sagittarius.
Why?
I think Sagittarius is really cool and it's got a lot of buzzwords that are really exciting and it gets people excited.
Okay. Sun sign that you'd never want to date.
Oh. Oh, nothing's coming to mind. Okay, the one that's coming to mind is Scorpio. But I don't want to say Scorpio. I don't want to say Scorpio. Probably Virgo. I'm gonna go with Virgo. Sorry, Virgos. I love you. I don't know.
We do love, just don't want to date. And then finally, one word to describe how you want clients to feel after a reading.
Fulfilled.
Fulfilled. I love it. Well, thanks for entertaining me with that,
No,
Jordan.
yeah. And now in a less lightning-y way, how would you answer these?
Are we allowed to do that? I don't know.
Yeah. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Favorite candle?
Rose.
Handwritten or not handwritten?
This is lightning. In my brain, I want handwritten, but it'll probably be on a screen.
Favorite rising sign?
My own, because I love me.
Sun sign you'd never date?
Scorpio.
Oh! And one word to
Think of all my
describe.
friends who are Scorpios.
I know. Well, that's
And
the
I
thing.
love
I'm like, I'm a Scorpio rising. Like, I don't dislike Scorpios, but like, they're tough, man. I feel tough.
I just need so much bait. Like, I just need to be like held and warm and like, it's like, I don't know.
Well, Scorpios are freaking loyal.
They are loyal. No, that's what I'm saying. Like
They're attack dogs.
My friends who are Scorpios, some of my closest friends are Scorpio suns. And like, I love them to death. But would I want to date them?
And one word to describe how you want clients to feel after a reading with you.
At peace.
Yeah. That was lovely.
Thank you so much for being here in the study room with us. We wanted to break up some of the more hefty academic episodes with some fun othersodes. So we really hope you enjoyed this chat and were able to take away some little tidbits from it to help you with either your learnings or your own readings. I thought this was really fun, Jordan. You did a really good job, like not having, prepped like the answers to these things. Like it was good.
Yeah, and thank you all for sticking with us. I hope that our conversation at the beginning was interesting because I know it wasn't, strictly astrology, but let us know what you thought about it because we had fun.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, this is obviously always going to be like an astrology podcast, but the way Jordan and I riff off each other and our experiences, there will probably always be witchy extras to go along with it.
Yeah.
And as a reminder, if you'd like to go deeper into the studies with us, don't forget we post journal prompts, rituals, guides to what we talk about over on our free Patreon, and it's linked in the show notes.
Yeah, and also follow us on Instagram at the Astro Study Room. And next time we'll be diving back into our planets and talking about the incredibly benefic and wonderful Jupiter.
Yes, we are definitely going to be diving deep into Jupiter, following the same general format we have for the planets. But if there's anything else you want to hear about, leave us a message and let us know.
And you can always email us at theastrostudyroom@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our show. And as always, this podcast is my practice of asking big questions, uncovering the hidden truths, and creating an accessible space for others to do the same.
And I'm so grateful to be learning alongside Jordan and all of you, sharing our resources and diving into what it means to connect with the cosmos. Thank you so much for being part of this, and we'll see you back in the study room every other Tuesday.